Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for the bronze final of the Women's World Cup. New Zealand taking on France at Twickenham. Two sides that would have absolutely loved to be in the final later between England and Canada, but instead they are playing off for the bronze semi-finals. They weren't as close as some anticipated. New Zealand losing that game up against the Canadians 34 points to 19, whereas for the English, they were able to get themselves the win over France 35 points to 17. But looking through at the starting lineups, it is looking like a strong New Zealand lineup once again, and there is a return in that loose forward trio of Georgia Miller, but in the front row, they've still got that grunt up front. Ponsonby's been having a great tournament, and their number 2 jersey, she would love nothing more than to get 1 or 2 tries in this last game of the Women's World Cup. Roos alongside Bayfield will be the locking duo, so no Bremner in the starting lineup for this match. Makeli 2 back at number 6. Georgia Miller, like I said, at 7, and Olsen Baker slots in as that number 8 option. Poldy Lane starting in the 9 jersey with Demant as the 10. Brunt in the midfield alongside Stacey Waka. Then Portia Woodman-Wycliffe out on one wing. Braxton Sorensen-McGee, who recently got nominated for the Breakthrough Player of the Year. She is on the right wing. And then number 15, Renee Holmes. Also, of course, Georgia Miller. She was nominated for that same award, plus the Women's Player of the Year. So a big congratulations to those two. Looking through at this French starting lineup, still a lot of talent and not a huge amount of changes compared to what we have seen throughout the other games. And I believe that is because they want to have that consistency, and also because they felt like they weren't a mile away from getting the win over the English. They were extremely competitive, the French. And up until around that 60-minute mark, there's actually a real chance of a pretty solid upset. But just falling apart for that last 20, that is when the Red Roses started to get so strong. And that is why the matchup up against the Canadians will be so intriguing. But we are going to be covering, of course, the South Africa versus Argentina game with updates from that matchup taking place as well. But overall, a strong side, and of course, being led in that number 9 jersey by Bourdon Sensus. Always one to keep an eye on for this French lineup. Looking through at current form, mainly based off what we saw throughout the playoff matches, New Zealand getting themselves a good win over South Africa. Now, that game maybe wasn't as one-sided as it looked. Actually, at halftime, South Africa right in that contest, but it was what New Zealand were able to do late that made the difference, 46 points to 17, and then that loss to the Canadians in the semi-final. The quarterfinal for the French, extremely close up against the Irish, 18 points to 13. That game was much closer than many anticipated. They're not able to convert in that semi-final, but still getting that chance to play at Twickenham, just not in the main final of the competition. We have got there, surname is to appear, says, wait, what? And also we have got there, I think the Black Ferns 10 plus, says Darren, and Brax is amazing. I knew she was a try-scorer machine, but she just slotted that kick from the sideline. I was in disbelief. She's a future for real. Says great, and it's an interesting, I guess you'd say, note of timing. Because, of course, Portia Woodman-Wycliffe, this is going to be her last Women's World Cup, whereas Braxton Sorensen-McGee, that's going to be the first of, I think, many for that young lady, and she's got a ton of potential. Like, she could have 3 more World Cups in her at this point. Only 18 years of age, maybe even closer to the 4. So, of course, she would have loved to be in that final, but a third-place game, certainly going to be great to have experience in this sort of scenario. We have got there, why would they do the final at the same game time? It's South Africa versus Argentina game. I have absolutely no idea, to be honest. Like, surely there was a way around it. I've seen people say that South Africa always play their games at that same time, so people were trying to say that it's a Women's World Cup fault, but I think it's just, it's going to split an audience, and I'm very curious to know what type of numbers in terms of how many watch the Women's World Cup compared to how many watch the South African versus Argentine game, and see which competition does take the biggest hit in that regard. Is it daylight saving? It will be in only a couple hours' time. In 2.5, we are going forward an hour, which does mean that we're actually closer to that game between South Africa and also Argentina. Let's go Black Ferns. Says Purple Dragon Universe. And one on Hamish says, wait, what? And there as well, but both sides just about to make their way out onto the field for the last time. A little bit of push and shove going on for the French tunnel at the moment. They're doing a bit of a shoulder-to-shoulder down the tunnel, but these are the benches for these two sides. So, Teresa Stefano and Vahakolo have both been able to bring their own impact throughout these matchups. Rule in the front row. Bremner is there off the bench, as well as Sae in that number 20 jersey. And then for the French, still some pretty decent options late. See there, a little bit of emotion for this French side as well, knowing what this type of performance could mean to their side. You know, this has been a hard grind for the French. I believe they finished in the 3rd place position last Rugby World Cup. That taking place in New Zealand. So in a way, they are defending their bronze. It looks like a few game faces on for New Zealand. A few smiles still out and about for this side. But you can just tell that there would be that little bit of, I wouldn't say disbelief, but disappointment's probably the better way of putting it, of not making it through. Do we go back or forward? Daylight saving. So we are going forward an hour. So when it is 2 a.m., you go forward to 3 a.m. I love the shaved head, Amish. See Shazza Anna there as well. Yeah, it was the forfeit for South Africa getting themselves that big win over New Zealand. And we also did hit the light goal. So, yeah. The barber was happy but unhappy to see me, only because of the fact that I was there only 6 days prior, getting the haircut. In fact, it was even less than that. And do we win next week, ABs? It will be a tough game in Australia. I think that the Aussies really showed a good bit of fight at Eden Park. It was just those repeat infringements in the second half, 15 penalties in total against the Wallabies, which I do think really did hurt them. And spring forward, full back, as how I remember it, says Novmum. And France is a great team. This will be a sick game. Yeah, this has potential of being a really awesome back and forth. And they've talked about it before the match too. Both sides play pretty different styles of rugby, which can only mean that we're going to get a great game just around the corner with a little bit of luck anyway. But do let me know your score predictions in the chat as well, ladies and gents. Who do you think will get themselves this bronze medal? You see the buzz there, bro. Embrace it. Says, great to say, Grakel. Do you see the sin bin? Says, Fortnite is in like a sin bin for this game. Hopefully there aren't too many players getting sent off the field in this match, but you just never know. It could end up in the scenario of maybe, I want to say 2 yellow cards is what I'm expecting. I don't know if they'll be the same side or whether they'll be one apiece. 40-10 is a score prediction from Fortnite there. And Black Ferns for the win. Hi, Amish says JE, welcome in. You are doing extremely well. Go the Black Ferns. And 27-19 in favour of the Black Ferns. And there as well. But the French national anthem being sung by a passionate Twickenham crowd. Of course, both locations for this bronze final as well as the women's final. Both going to be at this great stadium, sold out for the final, which is absolutely fantastic to see the growth that women's rugby has had just over the last 4 years. Is Beauden Barrett injured? He is. Looked like some sort of either shoulder or something around there, but he did have it in a sling after the game, which is a bit of a concerning sight for New Zealand. France by 15, says Lee Price. Black Ferns 33-16 of the French. And Ovmum needs to wake these Chiefs boys up, especially that coach, says the AI underdog. Will now be the New Zealand national anthem. So we're only going to be about 1 or 2 minutes late for the start of this matchup, but still a lot of smiles. And that is one thing that you don't normally see, I would say, in like the bronze final between Argentina and England. No one looked happy for that game. Whereas both of these sides, I would say more so New Zealand are more smiley than the French. Whereas in that one for the Men's World Cup bronze medal match, both sides looked like they had really hated playing that game. Only because of the fact that they wanted to be in that final. And the fact that this is the same location as where the final has taken place is a little bit of a brutal one, because these two sides will get to stick around and see who wins the whole competition. Any score 10 points difference for the Black Ferns, says Robert there. And Go NZ says Johan. And also hello Hamish, says David. And looking forward to this game in your commentary. So it is greatly appreciated you guys tuning in. And like I said, we've got plenty more coming up later on tonight. It was shoulder. It's very slow to get up from heavy contact 5 to 10 minutes before finally going off. Says greet the Sacred Cow. And who replaced Beauden Barrett? They did end up putting Damien McKenzie in that number 10 jersey. For that one, go Georgia. Super glad she's playing, says Paul. And lots of people underestimate France. On their day, they can beat anyone. I kind of like the French men used to be, says Andrew. Yeah, this French side certainly should not be underestimated for this game in particular, because, like I said, they managed to win the bronze final last competition for the Rugby World Cup. And they've got something about them. When that attack is working, we actually saw it in the match up against the English too. When they get it right, they're pretty hard to beat. England managed to just wear them down though, and eventually started to get themselves a little bit of momentum. And Canada win by 10 points or more, says Robert. And I'm a Kiwi, but I'd like to see France win, just so they can take some confidence into next year's Six Nations and hopefully beat England, says Jeremy. Got the Black Fern, says Johan. and go Georgia. Super glad she's playing, says Paul. Yeah, I know a lot of people wanted to see her in that last match of the semi-finals, but she is back now. And hi, everyone. New Zealand 48 to the French 17, says Lilius. Are going a little bit more one-sided. I think that's one of the more one-sided scores we have seen predicted for this matchup. And Black Ferns 34 to the 24. Don't want to be outshone by the All Blacks. If you see Stacey Waka smiling, how could you not smile back? Says Alan Smith. Yeah, she is not the only one with a smile on the face for the Kiwis. I think it's also just soaking in the atmosphere of playing at Twickenham. You know, it is the bronze final. It is still a massive occasion for these two sides. And there's still 80 minutes of all-out action rugby that is about to take place. I'm not underestimating France. Just want my team to win. Says Josephine there. And also, we've got if these two teams play like they did it in the semis, then France will win by 10. New Zealand were very poor in the semi, in my opinion. Says Akaris. And also, we've got Hi Hamish, Hi All. Says Wild Lobster. And also, Allures La France. Says DJ there. But New Zealand just doing the haka. And then they will be underway for the start of this match. Black Ferns backlash. Says, wait, what? Now let's go. The Frenchies 50-12 is the prediction from Monkey Muay Thai. Okay, now the game faces are on a little bit more for New Zealand. The national anthems, there were smiles, but now during the pre-match, there is a little bit more determination. We have got that A nice Baldy G, says man. And there we have got their greetings from Poland, says Lucas. Welcome in. And the traditional hanging up the washing dance, says Doon. Geez, you really know how to offend a lot of people, don't you, Doon? You've actually got a specialty in it. And you seem to do it every single live stream. You just seem to hate these female teams. And I don't know why, because it's been such an entertaining World Cup when we have seen them all playing up against each other. The two semi-finals were fantastic. The attendance is looking incredible for this Twickenham match as well. I love the haka. Says rugby ready there. And as long as the Black Ferns show up, as they can do, France will have no hope. Broncos or Panthers tomorrow. It'll be intriguing. I feel like the Panthers, just because of what they have been able to do, like, it's pretty hard not to back them. But then at the same time, the Broncos, they've had some close games and managed to pull it off. So it has potential of being a really good game. And at least I hope that it will be as well. Both teams need to be competitive and prove a point. And 29-17 to the Ferns, says John. Okay, the Ferns go. Says rugby ready. But we are now ready for the start of this contest. Damn, I don't know how an All Blacks France South Africa Island team would have the drive anymore to play for a bronze after losing a semi-final. Says Tanner 2. I think the Bronx winning tomorrow, and Woodman's last game, I believe it is, for Portia Woodman-Wycliffe. And we talked about it just prior. Braxton Sorensen-McGee, she's looking like the future star for New Zealand, and it is in a game here where we will see Sorensen-McGee almost like the torch being passed to her, because Portia Woodman-Wycliffe, she is gone after this World Cup. So, you know, you're going from the veteran to now the rookie who is up for a nomination for Player of the Year, or at least the Breakthrough Player of the Year, I should say. The one that Wallace Atiti managed to win last year for the ABs. Holy smokes, the refs should have put an All Blacks jersey on today at Eden, says Robert T. Yeah, it was an interesting one. I talked about it in the post-match review a little bit. Australia just couldn't work out Piatti whatsoever. New Zealand, they couldn't work him out for a start, and after the first half, they seemed to find out what worked and what didn't with his refereeing. Australia, they got penalised, and then 2 breakdowns later, they would do the exact same thing and expect not to be penalised. Piatti's one of the strictest referees in the whole URC when it comes to the breakdown, and they just didn't play a smart game of rugby, the Aussies. They were disappointing because they had such a good shot, but just kept infringing, doing the same thing over and over, and expecting Piatti to all of a sudden go, okay, now I'm not going to penalise that. Tight game for you, says our underdog pick, and winning bronze is such an honour in this World Cup, says Robert. Definitely with the amount of support that it has had all throughout the competition. You know, we've seen a couple upsets along the way. We have got there, mate. It's a close shave, looking good. It was even closer last week when we got it. It was because of the New Zealanders losing to South Africa, but we ended up having to get a buzz cut. And yeah, it was a little bit shorter than this. It's grown back a bit, believe it or not. And good luck to both, says the Hobbit. And there, and 2 good teams, says John Tipu. Yeah, this should be a great opener and a bronze final to remember before we see the main event later on, Canada versus England. Ella Goldsmith, the Australian, will be in charge. New Zealand kicking off from left to right. Renee Holmes to get us underway for the bronze final of the Women's Rugby World Cup at Twickenham Stadium. Even though they call it Allianz, we still call it Twickenham. We don't care. But now kicked off and nicely taken inside of the 22 for France in the hands of the always dangerous Bourdon Sansus. And Goldsmith is wearing gold. I approve. Says rugby ready. Oh, looking for the backline movement there. A little bit loose from France, but it has still, no, drop ball now out wide for Grisey. It does mean now New Zealand have got themselves positioned 22 metres out from the line. Are you covering the final? I am not. I am going to be given updates on the final and the score of that match during the South Africa versus Argentina contest. Georgia Ponsonby tackled low. Looking for the steal. Not quite able to get it for France. Now Risi Pauli Lane. Good attack and run from Olsen Baker. Find herself sitting around 20 metres out from the try line. Renee Holmes again getting involved in this backline. Stacey Waka dragged down just a 10 metres short. They're just talking about that possession stat. Our New Zealand will want to hang on to this ball as much as physically possible, definitely during the early stages. It's good for New Zealand to lose the semis. Now they should be back on earth again, says Robert. And instead, in the final, we are going to get to see a side on a huge winning streak in England. The Canadians are trying to find a way of being able to beat. They have looked strong throughout this competition, though, Canada. It should be an outstanding final between the teams. And a little knock on from New Zealand on the ground means that it will be France's scrum 90 seconds into the game. Black Ferns still botching basic handling, says Robert T. And good game to all, and may the best team win. Go France, says DJ. And what minute you in, says Darren. Currently we are up to 1 minute 45 seconds through this one. You're going to get to see these scrums early on in this contest. France more than likely just looking for an exit here if they aren't able to win themselves a scrum penalty. The crowd's still really filing in quite nicely. I'd say they've already got 30,000 plus in attendance, if not maybe more. They are expecting over 80,000 for the final in just a few hours' time. Now, Bourdon Sansus ready to feed the ball. And a little bit of an early push from New Zealand, so that is best case scenario for the French. They have got the penalty from about 15 metres out from the try line. And back in the Black Ferns for a podium spot, says Rob. I'm trying to think of the last time New Zealand played France off the top of my head, and I can't remember when it was. Was it last year that the two sides played off? 50-50 call, I reckon. Says the AI underdog. Going to quickly find that information. 2024. Yep, they did play in the WXV. 39 points to 14 in favour of New Zealand. Now, that game did take place in Vancouver. And then prior to that, I'm not sure they would have played them the year... Oh no, in fact, they did play them the year before and France were able to win. That was in October 2023, 18 points to 17, a 1 point difference between the two teams. Now, Bourdon Sansus, back across to the left-hand side. Georgia Miller making the tackle on Filiu. Now, backline, another drop ball from the French, and that one turned into a knock-on. Looks like play on just for now. And France lost the collision and scrum pressure, and if Pollard... I don't play next week, I will support New Zealand. Well, they might need a bit of support. And into the last round of the Rugby Championship. Bourdon Sansus. Again, going back across to Arbez. Looping in behind. This is looking nice for France in terms of the exit from their own half. Moving up to 40 metres out. In fact, now 45 from their own line. Now short side. Little grubber it did. The Risi Pauli Lane. Another drop ball. And another knock on from New Zealand early on. I think a bronze would mean the most for teams like Japan, Argentina and Fiji, where their teams aren't really expected to win a World Cup. And more judged on if they can get a semi-final. Says Tanner. And 24 for the French and 19 for the Black Ferns, says DJ, is his score prediction for this contest. Yeah, big collision there. Demant putting in the good shot, and then Risi Pauli Lane. It's not an easy bouncing ball to make hard work of it. So another early handling error from the Black Ferns. Slowly, France building their way down the field. They are now inside of Black Ferns territory. Heck, says Josh. Now talking about Condé in that midfield. She is a dangerous ball runner. New Zealand's defence at times have just allowed a few easy metres throughout this Women's World Cup. Hasn't cost them in too many games, but it certainly did cost them in their last match up against the Canadians. Ready to feed this ball in, Baudon Sansus. And that is a good scrum again, holding strong both sides. Going off to the left-hand side, skipping over the top of Conde. That was close to link it up into a gap, but just not quite able to find the hands of Grisey as smoothly as they would have liked. Big pick up and drop of her. Gone backwards now from France. They are 40 metres out from their own line. A bit of an awkward landing. Baudon Sansus again goes across to Kala Arbis. Going to be hard to make those metres for France when inside of their own half, but New Zealand... that's a collision. Jeez. You could hear that one through the referee's microphone. Sounded like something slapping big time. Georgia Miller in the breakdown, looking for the steal, doesn't manage to win it. Baudon Sansus under pressure in the breakdown from Olsen Baker. But still ball on the side of the French. Thought about going wide. Grisey cuts back inwards. Tackled around the halfway line by Sylvia Brunt. And that is another penalty advantage, this time against New Zealand for a high shot. And cheering for the Ferns because I'm a simple rugby man taking vengeance on the Vampires. Says Jimbo. That ball bounces up at the back. So they will go back for the original penalty advantage in favour of France. And 24-19 in favour of New Zealand is Josh's prediction there. That's going to be the high tackle from Sylvia Brunt, just riding up a little bit higher than she would have liked to. They're saying about how this is what the French ended up doing last week in the semi-final. They just slowly survived the early English onslaught and then from there made the most of their next opportunity. Now ready to throw it in for Gerin. Taken nicely at rolling maul time, and this one is moving forward quite swiftly for the French pack. Scudero, she is playing in the number 6 jersey rather than 8, and there's a little knock on from Baudon Sansus. Does now bring the scrum feed for the Kiwis. And there's a bit of a miscommunication there from France. I think Baudon Sansus actually wanted to go to the near side of the field. She did not quite get the ball as early as she wanted. In your opinion, what is your prediction for England versus Canada? I think that Canada have looked like the best team in this World Cup, but England are still playing at home and are favourites. I would love to see the Canadians cause an upset just because of the fact that, it is 1 versus 2, and I feel like that's, every once in a while you need that underdog win when the top 2 sides play each other just to add that little bit of unpredictability. But England are going to be tough. There's no denying it. The fact that they've got Kildun, they've got Meg Jones, who was nominated for Rugby Player of the Year. She's been phenomenal, although the Canadians have got Sophie de Goody, who has also been nominated in that same department. Now, big collision there, France, sitting 40 metres out from the line. Another drop ball. I don't know whether it's slippery out there at the moment. Maybe a bit of rain earlier on is the only way to explain so many handling errors throughout the first 10 minutes of this match. Perhaps even nerves. Lots of handling errors from both teams, and the penalty goes the way of New Zealand. Georgia Miller locking herself over the ball. Does manage to win the turnover for her side. Some deep breaths coming there from Georgia Miller as well. And being played at the high tempo, Canada should win today. They play Southern Hemisphere Rugby, says Robert. The question is, will Southern Hemisphere Rugby reign at Twickenham? Oh, what's happened there? I think they were going to go for the kick there, New Zealand. Instead tried to take the quick tap and drop the ball backwards. Luckily for them, now that one's gone into touch, and that was poor from the Black Ferns. Stacey Waka begging the referee for a penalty here. But I believe it is going to be the option of either a scrum for the French or the line-out. But just a bit of, once again, incohesion from this Black Ferns side. Not a normal play that you would see from them. Normally just kick it for the corner, start that rolling maul. Instead here, they decided to go a bit strange. I think is the best way of describing it. But it's been thrown in. France now claiming that ball. Baudon Sansus going off to the right-hand side. Nice backline movement here for France. That was the worst penalty of the Women's Rugby World Cup. Says Rugby now, backline. Nice ball on the inside. Grisey goes over the top. Another offload. Baudon Sansus for the corner, and New Zealand will regret that choice of trying to be fancy as it has led to the counter-attack for the French, and it has been a dangerous one as they score the first try of this bronze final. There's more pressure on the Ferns after losing so early, or so easily against Canada. Kia kaha Ferns, says John Tipu in the read, says AI, but a good attack and run initially from Vernier. Then just moving it on the outside. The offloading game of France was solid. In fact, that skip offload on the inside that avoided the lady who was marked. And then Baudon Saint-Sus, when she's got that kind of space down a wing, you are not stopping her. An excellent try from France, says Rugby Ready. I've just quoted it saying it was making something out of nothing. Now, Arbes will be the lady taking the kicks for this contest. Nice try, France, says John. And currently 15 seconds remaining here. Just catching a few extra breaths while she can, and straight down the middle, whereas Braxton, she is out on the wing. She did end up knocking that ball on a little bit earlier. But they did end up going for the line out, so I feel like it didn't matter that she knocked it on because they were still going for the same move anyway. I hope they are not hungover, and what a try. They need to learn how to pass and catch like France, says Robert T. They scalped Ireland down that line too, says Jimbo. And now they are leading this match 7-0 here, the French, over the Black Ferns. And that quick tap reminded me of the brain fart tap in last couple minutes of the last final versus England. Come on, the Black Ferns, just settle down and play, says Mike. Sometimes the basics are the best thing to do. And, for the Black Ferns, they are such a well-rounded side that, there's no need to try and be fancy. Here we go, just a basic backline here for the Black Ferns as they move into the 22 of the French, Mikaeli Tu'u, the one crashing it forward. Now, Olsen Baker, she will be tackled 10 metres out from the try line. Rus plays half, popping it up to Veliko. They missed the kick. They did get it over, so sitting 7-0 at the moment. Now another offload to Georgia Ponsonby, 5 metres from the line. That is a very good bit of work in the breakdown, though, from Bellew. They could argue that maybe their hands were down first, but she came back up onto the ball and got the turnover for this French side. And I hope you're well. I wish AB's wins, but France have upped their game. A worst management decision not to include 7 stars in Black Ferns. Break and Hirini, says Kokau. Although the reason that Break is not there is because she's pregnant. And I think Hirini, didn't she have an injury relatively recently? But now backline movement here. Thrown over the top, Georgia Miller. Oh, the hair pull from the French. That's a little bit old school there. And they've already had a suspension for biting. Might as well yank a ponytail while you're at it. Ponsonby going back across and a drop ball now. They'll go back and possibly look at this one. That's the hair pull on Georgia Miller. Great attack, awful finish. Says Rugby Ready, and Miller is the only one playing out here. Yes, Break is pregnant and Hirini is injured. Says Josephine, and Hirini is injured. Says, wait, what? Now we have got there, did they miss the kick? No, they did get it over, so 7-0 at the moment. That Baudon Saint-Sus is a little master. Should have been nominated for Player of the Year as well, says Jeremy. Yeah, because they've only nominated 3 players, and for the men's they have 4, don't they? So I'm surprised that they don't do that for the women's team as well. Sinbin, no Sinbin, just the penalty for the accidental hair pull, as they've called it, for Charlotte Escudero. Biting and pulling here, women's rugby, says Jimbo. Tied up, it was tied up. She grabbed the ponytail. So the only other option in that regard, by that logic, is shave it off. But, I don't think they all want to do that for these games. Georgia Ponsonby, that one's going sideways. Now back across, nice inside pass to Dement, who goes in between the sticks. New Zealand with the set play, getting it right there and scoring the try to get back level in this contest. And try, says Rugby Ready, and try. And also we have got there, going to get that subscription sorted now, up road, says Ruth. A break couldn't play, would mean I would have 16 on the field, says Mike. The nice inside ball from Sylvia Brunt straight to Dement. They hardly got a finger on her as she went over the try line. Nice easy kick for Renee Holmes, or at least it should be. It's straight out in front of the post. I've pretty much already given her the points for it, but wait and see whether or not she does get it right. And that kick has gone over. We have got try time, says Jeremy. Looks like a Satiti de Jordier, says the AI underdog pick. We have got there, even if she wasn't pregnant, Break already committed herself to the league. Right? So what's the problem there? Is in like you're saying she shouldn't have taken the money deal for the Warriors? Or you just... I'm not sure what your point is there. Like, she did go to the rugby league. She always had the intention of trying it out after that last Sevens Olympics. So, she just pretty much did what she said she was going to do. We've got our man Jonah Lomu smiling in heaven. Says Kakar there. Oh, yeah, we've got the... come on, France. Here's Richard. This is a steep bouncing ball. Well, I think I got my people confused, didn't I? I thought that you were the fella saying about the not having the sevens ones. I think I got that round the wrong way. Rugby League, that is. She basically made herself unavailable for the Ferns. Yeah, like, there are certain players. I think that there are actually a few after this World Cup from this team that are going in different directions, whether that's league or playing overseas. But, if the money's right and they've got the opportunity to play rugby somewhere, whether that is in the NRL or the WNRL, or... wherever it is, they got to take those opportunities while they're there. And there are still quite a few of the Sevens ladies in there. You've got Stacey Waka, Portia Woodman-Wycliffe. You could still argue as a Sevens player there. You've got Poldy Lane, Georgia Miller. These women have to go wherever the money is, no money otherwise. Says, wait, what? But now, nicely taken. Oh, that one was dropped at the back from France for their rolling maul. Break did fine. There are a lot of competitions in the backs. There's James Tahua. And yeah, you look at someone like a Sorensen McGee or a Vaha Kolo. These type of players now get that opportunity more so than when we did see, those other options of the veterans. And it will be the same once Portia Woodman-Wycliffe hangs up the boots. We'll also get to see her kind of make way for the next generation of young wingers from New Zealand. 17 minutes in at the moment. I should add those extra 2 points, or at least move my mouse so that it adds it. There we go. I agree, says Daryl. Now New Zealand, this is a good position. France have had a couple handling errors early on in this game as well. We have got there, will be a dry next 2 years. Then for the Sevens, with these ladies moving on, says Kakar, it's probably going to be a dry couple years in the Sevens anyway, because World Rugby are trying to destroy the circuit by taking all of the sides that people love to watch off of the scene. Kenya worked so hard to get back onto the circuit just to then be ditched again by World Rugby. Samoa are now considered Tier 3 in the Sevens. The USA are Tier 2. It's going to be the same 8 sides playing each other each and every week. Like, I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem for the Black Ferns, because sad reality is not many people will be watching the Sevens anyway because of what they're doing to destroy it. Not the Ferns, but World Rugby in general. Now, inside of the 22, Renee Holmes, getting that one downfield. Awkward bouncing ball, and that one has gone into touch off a very good kick downfield. Nice try for the Ferns. Farrah Palmer Cup. It's getting better, says John Tipu. That's a very good kick from Renee Holmes, though, relieving the pressure. 40 metres out from their line now. France going to have themselves the line out. Didn't know that. Well, if it bothers you, well, rugby needs to wake up, says the AI Underdog. Yeah, I've watched them slowly ruin the Seven Circuit for the past 2 or 3 years. And each year it gets worse. And now they've pretty much just, we're still going to cover it, but it's definitely not as good as it used to be, with the fact that half the sides that people show up to watch are no longer there. And Farrah Palmer is a legend of the game. There was 100% a knock on by the Ferns. There's rugby ready, and now looping around, chance here for the French. There's Chambon. All looking both ways. Bourdon Saint-Sus going infield this time. Georgia Miller wanting the turnover. She is cleaned out by Feliu. The collision there, Bernardo. At number 3 jersey for today. She was having a few battles in the front row up against the English Lucia Prop. Are we to watch the live though? I think it's on Rugby Pass TV, but I could be wrong. I know that the World Cup website has all of your options in terms of where to watch. It is in the Olympics, says the AI. And now, another tackle. Another good attack and run from the French, who now sit about maybe 35 metres out from New Zealand's line. Some good phase play here, up to 8 in a row for this French team. Michaeli Tu'u making the tackle on Fel. Now Baudon Sansus, little chip attempted in behind. It's going to be bouncing awkwardly. In fact, it's going to be very awkward and beautifully taken by Vernier. Braxton Sorensen McGee looking for the steal in the breakdown. Can't quite get it. If France can shift this on, they have a good chance of scoring, but it's dropped by Ménager. And they'll go back now for another scrum. As soon as the Island Sevens became competitive, we defunded them, says Jimbo. I'll choose Sevens over League any day, says Wemma. And here in Ireland, it's on RTE Player. In the UK, it's on BBC iPlayer. Says Richard for a couple options of being able to watch it around the world. Sadly, here in New Zealand is a paid subscription option. Being able to watch these games. French have averaged the most offloads per game at the Rugby World Cup 2025 with 17.4. And New Zealand have the third most with 13.8. And him should have called that advantage for France, says the AI underdog pick. Oh. Okay, I can hear the strong Australian accent of the referee. She's talking about foul play. Now, foul play is normally a bit of a concern in these games, and we've seen a few yellow cards. I mentioned how I thought we'd see 2 for this matchup, so if there is foul play, it would certainly step us a little bit closer in that direction. And it's going to be the scrum feed now for the New Zealanders, sitting about 12 metres out from their own line, so not exactly in the most promising position on the field. It's also not the worst. French biting again, says V. They are not biting, no. But there was a hair pull earlier on. Ref is not doing their best. Says Rugby ready. Already a quarter of the way through this matchup. It has flown by, and it definitely will continue to. Got another game just around the corner between South Africa and Argentina. We've got a nice big build-up for that match. And also during that game, we are also going to be covering the moments of Canada versus England. The Women's World Cup final. That scrum has gone down. Now back across to the left-hand side. Sling and pass. Chance here to kick it downfield. And Renee Holmes once again getting some decent distance on it. Grisey. Now running this one forward. Bouliard. That number 15 jersey for her today. Georgia Miller. Once again trying to get that steal in the breakdown. Ball comes loose, but France managing to clean it back up. Without too many difficulties. Ref is not doing their best, says Rugby. Now, big collision there for Maka. She does lose a couple metres in the process. Baudon Sansus, nice inside ball, but well covered there by the New Zealand 5, Laura Bayfield. She's actually been a really strong asset off the bench for the New Zealanders throughout this Women's World Cup. Black Ferns, too many penalties. There's Henry there. And yeah, just a few too many handling errors early on in this game as well. Now another offload attempt from France. Doesn't quite free up their hands. Now Vernier offloading one more on the outside. Oh my goodness, that was a hit and a half on Escudero. Portia Woodman-Wycliffe picking her up by the 2 legs and slamming her on her back. That's what you call a double leg in the UFC. That's a great run here from Fowl. Got the pass that looked close to forward. Baudon Sansus taking it nicely. Ball is available and it's side entry from France. It was possibly going to go back for the 4 pass anyway. Dominant, says Jimbo, spine buster. Long gone other days when the world followed the Hong Kong Sevens. So much multi-millions followed it. Yeah, and sadly it has been going downhill the Sevens circuit. Now I do think they have also been losing money, which probably doesn't help, I would say. But yeah, it's definitely not what it used to be, which is a massive shame. That one's going to go into touch for New Zealand as they relieve some of the pressure that was on them. Black Ferns locks and props are their weak point, to be honest, says Ipman. And Georgia. Like a sweet, old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Batiste inspired, says Rugby ready. Tackles missed so far. France have missed the 6 of their 27 made. New Zealand have missed 11 of their 49 that they've been able to make here. Ready to throw this ball in. And nicely taken for the Black Ferns again. Looking for this kick downfield to Mant. Trying to create a bit of an angle. And damn, it was too. Proctor's side entry was brutal. I was already a part of it, says the AI underdog pick. Now close. Breaking through again here. France 45 metres out from their own line. Now short ball. Oh, wow. That's a collision and a half from Valico as well. These ladies are going out there trying to absolutely smash each other. Cross kick attempted, but well covered from Portia Woodman-Wycliffe. It's back now to Demand, who will go for the 50-22, steeply bouncing. Awkward one for Carla Arbez. Does handle it and does boot it into touch for the French. Hope the Ferns are done warming up. Here's Robert T. Black Ferns Island girls need to maintain discipline, can't handle it. Here's Henry. Just talking about that collision. Vallejo pretty much chop and fell down. Based on the game, I see the Black Ferns winning. Says Monkey Muay Thai. Okay, New Zealand win the double. Men and women winning on the same day. History and probability says it's a very low chance. Says Xander. Yeah, because I know that last week we saw New Zealand, South Africa, didn't we? And the men lost, but the women won for those matches. And it's not very often that the two sides actually will play off on the same day. It looks like a bit of an injury here for France on the far side of the field, or the close side, as we look at it now for Maka. Bit of a counter-ruck from France, bringing some physicality to the breakdown. Poldy Lane, she's bent in an awkward manner. And they will go back for the initial advantage. And good pressure from the Ferns, says Rugby ready there. Oh, jumping across is the call. That is going to be the penalty for New Zealand. Women lost, though, against Canada. Says James, that is true. That was the week after, of course. But the original week that I was talking about for South Africa versus New Zealand, when two sides did end up not quite getting the job done. We have got the low Hamish all. Says Gurnovik, welcome in. Now sitting 15 minutes remaining in this first half. Still 7 points to 7 between these two teams. It does seem like it's going to be quite a close game. I got you, says James. But yeah, you are correct. It was also 1-1 for that weekend as well. I'm trying to think. What was the match? Or was the Women's World Cup going for that first win for New Zealand up against Argentina? I don't know if it was. That might have been the week before it started, perhaps. Seeing as the Rugby Championship, we've had a few quiet weeks in between. Hamish, the Kiwis look good. Surely they will run away with it, says Kevin. I wouldn't be so sure. France will be in this for the 80 minutes. They will not give up here. They will look to keep on attacking. And French showing why they push the English, says James. Now ball's available, told to use it once for New Zealand. Georgia Ponsonby. And I pass it back to Poldy Lane, or at least it looked that way. She was trying to get her hands on it. Ponsonby says, no, I've got this for a couple more metres. Has now come to a grinding halt, so Poldy Lane will have to use it. Going away to the left-hand side. Step there from Sylvia Brunt in the middle of the field. Only a couple metres out, but she's going to be held up by the French who try and steal it. It's going to be relatively cynical just out from their own line, France. Will just remain as the penalty. Now New Zealand, this is straight out in front of the post. So if they want a three-pointer, they have well and truly got it. Fourth plane for New Zealand, I think, or fourth place, I think that is, from Bad Dog. Now, 13 and a half minutes still remaining in this first half. New Zealand have opted to go for the scrum here. I assume that is to just lure in a few more of the French defenders, take the forwards out of the equation. I got my Vodacom airtime vouchers, Hamish. Put it in soon. Subscription will be done, says Ruth. And there, and speaking of Vodacom, the Vodacom Bulls, they are going head-to-head with the Ospreys in the very near future, taking on this URC season. We are going to be giving you updates throughout that game as well, but I will mention that will involve a few spoilers about that game too, so just be wary there. And Island Girls know discipline, never handle the big matches, says Henry. And also we got a new member from Robin Guy. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated you hitting that membership button. You now have access to those emojis in the chat. Big scrum from France, but the ball still pops out on the side of New Zealand. Olsen Baker, little knock on the ground again from the Kiwis. And there are just so many scrums, so many drop balls that we are seeing from New Zealand here. I got it, man. I know. RWF, we should have done, says a Bad Dog. And we have got their scrum nice. May as well push it now. And also blunder by the Ferns and take the point, says John. And they turn down the 3 points. And now they find themselves in a situation where France could just try and relieve some of that pressure. Maybe earn another penalty. Something they've been pretty handy with throughout this game as well. Okay, New Zealand just told to hurry up there at the scrum time. But now, sounds like France may actually try and run this one first. Where was Georgia? And then the semi a little bit injured. By the sounds of it, a hamstring issue, I believe it was. 11 girls have won the World Cup a good 3 times too. says Mad Dog there. Now breaking off the back, Filiu, or drop ball from France, 5 metres out from their own line. How is that not a knock on? It's been called as off the foot of the French, and maybe it was for the one that happened after the knock on, but that was about as clear as day, wasn't it? I've been told to use it though, France. They will survive. Just out from their line. I would love to see a replay of that one. We have got there, come on the Black Ferns. That one hasn't found touch. Portia, Woodman, Wycliffe going back across to Renee Holmes, who runs straight and hard at the French defence. Now Woodman, Wycliffe, she plays 9 with a pick and go attempt. Told to get out of there. Poultry Lane does end up almost falling over in the breakdown as the sun starts to shine. At the moment, it was the Black Ferns captain. For this game, I assume it is Olsen Baker in that number 8 jersey. And now Portia Woodman Wycliffe stepping, can't quite get her offload to Renee Holmes. Back across again, big collision. The middle of the park, 20 metres out, New Zealand. They would love nothing more to get themselves another try here. Vallejo, but it's knocked on by Russ. And France get this ball back. Sansus not looking for the touchline. Instead, she's going to chase after it. Foot race there with Renee Holmes. Tries to slide on that ball. There was no give whatsoever in the Twickenham surface, though, but the ball's still on the side of the Black Ferns. It depends on if the day is misty, Amish. Says Kevin there. Oh, bit of a tip tackle there in the breakdown from France. I want to say that it wasn't quite on purpose, but it was a mistake coming from Chambon in the number 7 jersey. And we've got our props doing too much, says Ipman. And speed of the chase, says Jimbo. Yeah, it looked for a good little while that Bourdon Sansus was actually going to win that foot race. And we got league girls that run it like men. I'm telling you, they should be able to play both. Says Bad Dog. That one just goes into touch. Last 5 penalties have been against France ever since the 14th minute. They have given away the 5 straight. New Zealand, they have had probably in that time around 3 or 4 handling errors. Dangerous sloppy tackle. It was definitely with the fact that she was already grounded. You know, by doing a tip tackle, it wasn't actually going to gain anything as the tackle had pretty much already been made. So a bit of a mistake from France. Their discipline has been questioned at times throughout the comp. All right, just the conversation there between the referee and the players, just working out how many are in there at line-out time. Now nicely thrown in. New Zealand have claimed it. Rolling maul. Taking it off the back already. Poultry Lane. Portia Woodman Wycliffe. She is not afraid to run at the biggest players on an opposition lineup. Now, going off the back. Kalone Vale. Now off to, I believe that is Vallejo. So both props getting involved for New Zealand, sitting 10 metres out from the line. Off to the left-hand side. Another low tackle made on Olsen Baker. I may have nightmares tonight about Cam Roigard. He had a really good game, didn't he? Just came straight back from injury, and you wouldn't have thought he was gone for as long as he was. Now popped on. Vallejo offload there to Demand. She's already got one. She looks for the offload to Russ, who will be dragged down just short of the try line. But France trying to get that still, unable to do so. Brunt will back herself and gets on the line and scores for New Zealand. 8 minutes remaining in the half, and they've got themselves another one. We have got there was the Black Ferns captain. Yeah, Olsen Baker, I believe, is in charge of the side. And we have got there. Hey, you're doing a great job, buddy. Fair commentary, says Chill. And yeah, that's greatly appreciated. Of course, anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are going to be back with plenty more rugby today. Next game is South Africa versus Argentina in the Men's Rugby Championship. While that game has taken place, we'll be providing updates about the England versus Canada match. And then also after that, there is a Samoa versus Chile match of the Rugby World Cup qualifying. They were a draw in their first game, so whoever wins this from here, they will go through to the next stage. We have got there, come on the Black Ferns. And we have got there, I think the thing with the Ferns lack is tactical first 5 or second 5 because they seem to try to bulldoze down the middle. Says James, it's a decent strike of the ball and it has gone over. A good connection there from Renee Holmes, making the score now 14 points to 7. We have got there, sadly, women's rugby is going the same way as the men's. Big Oompa Loompas chugging it up, rolling mauls, collapsing scrums, yawn. We should have kept our offloading DNA important as forward stuff. says Bill. Although I do think that New Zealand, the thing is, they have tried to offload quite a bit throughout this World Cup, but the problem has been their handling issues. Because, if the amount of offloads that they had done had led to actually continuing the play, we would have seen a lot more attack from the Black Ferns. The reason they've used the forward so much is because they don't trust that anyone else is going to catch that ball. So at least by using someone like a Makaelitu or a Valiko or a Kolunevale, it at least gets you those few extra meters rather than just having that handling error like we've seen multiple times. I think that this has probably been the Black Ferns' worst tournament, I want to almost say ever, in regards of handling. And busting it up the middle, more of that Ferns, says Jimbo. And we have got there, Frank has said he just rewatched the Ferns versus France semi-final from last World Cup this afternoon. That was a game. Close, or hope it's not as close today, says Frank. Yeah, that one came down to the last minute, didn't it? I believe we covered it on the channel. My mum was here for that match as well. Now, nice step from Menager. Sitting now 5 minutes remaining. What time was the last try? The last try is in before the one that we just saw? Or the one just then. That one was scored in the 33rd minute of this game. Now, Grisey thought about the offload, and again, it's a bit of a mistake, a knock-on this time coming from France. We have got the hello, love your channel, listening at work from South Africa, says Conrad, and we have got that South Africa versus Argentina game taking place just around the corner, so of course be sure to check that out as well. Well said, Hamish, says John Tipu. I just remembered it's daylight saving, we've lost an hour, says Rob. Yeah, in about 1 hour 50, we're jumping forward an extra hour, which does mean that game between South Africa and Argentina is only 3 hours away from kicking off. The structure needs broken play in reverse, says the AI underdog pick. Listening from Southern California at 5:11 a.m, says Diana. So that is certainly commitment to the Rugby World Cup, that is for sure. Now, scrum feed for New Zealand, 47 metres out from their own line. Hi, Mr. Smart looking Hamish, says Brian. And there as well, welcome in, hope you are doing well. I will mention, normally we've got the suit and tie, and it is on, it's just underneath the jersey, because it's about, I like how I look down at my temperature gauge on my computer, and it just says cold weather. That's all it says. Not a temperature, just cold weather. That's all it says. Now let's go, ladies. Serve the Fern. Come on, let's go, says Diana. Now 4 minutes left. Scrum having a little bit of a conversation here, the referee, with the front rowers. Not quite happy with what she has seen throughout parts of this match. And I was going to wake up super early to watch Wallabies versus All Blacks, but I decided instead to wake up and watch the replay without looking at the score. I'm glad I did, says Robert T. Yeah, now it makes that Rugby Championship that little bit more intriguing in terms of who is in the box seat. And I agree, handling has been bad for the Black Ferns compared to Canada's forwards, who have the core skills, and they've been the difference, says Ip Man. Cold weather must be an English summer, a scorcher, says James. Oh, big attack and run up the middle here from Olsen Baker. Ends up half by crushing one of the French players underneath her, but going off to the right-hand side now. Quick hands from Stacey Waka. Goes to Renee Holmes, cutting back inwards. Passes to Sylvia Brunt. One more on the outside. That is the best Black Ferns try, perhaps in the last maybe 3 or 4 games that they've been able to score, but that is very nicely done. And who wanted more offloading? Says Jimbo there, and try. Yes, well, what a try, says Rodney. That was absolutely fantastic between Holmes, Brunt. There were many players involved, even just that attack and run from Olsen Baker to get them on the front foot, to put them in a position to be able to create that sort of attack. She bulldozed over the top. Waka's gangster. Yeah, very nice quick hands from Stacey Waka to Holmes. Brilliantly done by Sylvia Brunt to keep herself on side, and then the pass back to Renee Holmes as well to finish it off for the Ferns. Well done, the Black Ferns, says Purple Dragon Universe. It's pouring down here at the moment in Ireland, says Richard. Now 2 minutes remaining and a perfect time to be able to score it if you are the Black Ferns. Take that little bit more momentum. And Renee Holmes, she's had a good day off the kicking tee, and that will continue. That one goes over to 21 points to 7. Try in the corner or under the poles, about halfway in between. So that angle was about 25 metres on the angle for Renee Holmes there. And the hands from Holmes was superb, says Rodney. Yeah, that one will certainly feel good for her because she did have a little bit of a rough semi-final up against the Canadians. Struggled to find her feet at times, but looking a lot more, I guess, safe and composed in this match. Well done, Burns. Love it, says Cameron Kane. Good evening, mate, from Brisbane. Win or lose, New Zealand until the end, says Foot Patrol. A nice try before halftime. Scoreboard pressure, says John. You're now leading by the 2 tries at the moment, the Black Ferns. And looking to kick this one downfield. Trying to create the angle. It does give it straight back to France, though, for a bit of a counter-attack of their own. A little chip attempt. It goes straight into the hands of Poultry Lane. Now Sylvia Brunt. New Zealand showing off a little bit of their skills now throughout the last 5 or so minutes of this contest. Going back across up. They just dropped it. I did jinx that one, but it does go backwards for Renee Holmes. Gets it off to Braxton Sorensen McGee. One of the first times that she has touched the ball. Forward pass out to Georgia Miller out wide. Cutting back inwards. Dodging there. One more pass. They will have to check this, I would think, but Bayfield will score it otherwise. And that is very nicely done by New Zealand. Counter-attacking rugby at its finest. But it will just be that Braxton Sorensen McGee pass going to Georgia Miller. And that was a 4 pass to Miller, says Rodney there. And Holmes was outstanding in the last game. No support at all. Sorry, I might have been meaning... Was it South Africa? No, it might have been South Africa that she struggled, possibly. Which game was the one that she ended up having a rough day off the kicking tee? I think that might have been South Africa, wasn't it? Right, the TMO, I assume they will be checking this one. Better handling, says John. Hopefully a try. And Baker deserved it, says James there. Great stuff from a Kiwi living in France. Right, it sounds like this one's been all cleared. Must be the same TMO as Australia-Argentina in the Rugby Championship. I've been impressed with Bayfield. She's been phenomenal off the bench. In fact, every time that she's come on, she's made at least one impactful moment. And Holmes gets a kick just short. It was between the posts, but did dip down. But that is going to be halftime now. 26-7, the lead for New Zealand. It's not forward until it's called, like the French got away with many years ago at the World Cup, says Bad Dog. I watched the last time they played. I didn't even want it to be close this time. Win it big for New Zealand, says Diana. You've mentioned Baker a lot today. Olsen Baker's been solid, and I can't believe that at this point in time, she is still playing for this World Cup. We've got to remember, first game, she got her leg strapped up, and they said, oh well, her World Cup is over. And then she went, you know what, I'll just play in 2 weeks. And then since then, she's been one of the standout forwards for New Zealand throughout this World Cup. So it's insane that she didn't snap her leg in that first game, or her ankle, the way that it looked. But she went, no, it's just a bruise, I'll get up, I'll keep going. Keep the scores piling, New Zealand. Says Josephine there, and France need to bite down and go for it. Says Ipman. Yeah, they're now reaching that point how they slightly have to throw caution to the wind. Because if they don't here, they could find themselves still behind by a substantial margin. And that is the last thing that they will want. I should mention, anyone who is new to the channel, of course, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It is so greatly appreciated, everyone being here. We've still got 2 more matches later on tonight, including a big build-up for that South Africa versus Argentina. We've got Ramarai. Thank you very much for hitting that membership button. You now have access to those emojis on the channel, including, but not limited to, this little one here. The New Zealand flag in the middle of a New Zealand. Be sure to use it. We've got the try emoji, I believe, too. I don't know whether Boomfa is still one of the emojis, but maybe we should bring that one back, seeing as Leroy Carter looking like a mainstayer in the All Blacks lineup. There's my face looking very confused. Like that. I think it's the other way. Maybe like that. There's George going like that. That's what France are feeling after the first half, because it has not quite been their best. And Olsen Baker is cute AF. Says Wenma, and I'm watching this game in the Gold Cup. Has started today. My home team, Brackpan, is playing. Says Mike D420. What we'll quickly do while we're at it, seeing as we're at halftime, we might as well get a little bit of URC rolling as well. There is a match taking place at the moment between the Bulls and the Ospreys. Now, the Bulls came in as heavy favourites heading into that contest. They are expected to win it by quite a substantial margin, but we will be the judge of that, mainly because we are about to look and see whether or not they are leading. Oh, I've got to sign in. Hopefully, if I just click the button, it will let me go in without any problems. No, it won't. I have to enter emails and all sorts. Much better handling at the pace, Burns, says John there. And in my opinion, you want tall wingers. You're always going to have a liability against a player of Falau's capability. Pluck it out of the sky. Oh, in fact, I didn't have to put in a password. I can just go straight into it now. We'll see how this game is sitting between the Bulls and the Ospreys during the halftime break. And the verdict is, at the moment, wow, Ospreys are leading in that contest. 12 points to 7. That was not on the on the radar. I don't think they were even given half a chance heading into that match. In fact, they were about $9 underdogs at the start of the round. Ospreys like Connacht, great going forward, zero defense. Says Jimbo, and Leroy Carter is good. I hope he goes on the autumn tour for international experience, says Robert. And I honestly think he's picked himself. Like, I know that Scott Robertson is the one who has to make the decision at the end of the day, but I would be picking Leroy Carter every day of the week. He's shown that enough intent. You know, there's no complacency about the way that he plays. He knows that for him to be able to make it far for this All Blacks team, he has to put in the work, and he's willing to do that. We've seen it on the 7 circuit before as well. So, yeah, I'd honestly be getting Leroy Carter straight in that side for November. Gold Cup is the highest prestigious club cup for non-university teams in South Africa, says Mike D4. And much better handling at pace for the Ferns. Yeah, their second quarter of that first half, or I guess their second half of the first half, was a lot smoother for the Black Ferns. They were starting to get that rhythm back a little bit more. These are the bench players that both of these sides will have available, so they've got some pretty decent options. But a great try for Laura Bayfield, who thoroughly deserves it after the way that she's been playing throughout the rest of the matchups. It's still Vahakolo off the bench. Sitafano is there as well. Maya Joseph, Sai. Like, they've got some pretty handy options here, New Zealand. I will be honest, I don't know a huge amount about some of these French replacements. I know that Alejandra Chambon is actually in the starting side, though, for France, rather than off of the bench, I believe. Oh, we're seeing a bit of head-on-head between the Bulls and Ospreys from Dewey Lake. That might get them in a bit of trouble if they are not too careful. However, they're awesome finish to the first half for the Black Ferns, an English woman watching in Italy. Thanks for making it possible to find the games. Gutted it's not being shown on Italian TV. The final was on later, so not all bad. Go the Ferns, says Corinne there. And yeah, it is greatly appreciated you popping in for this matchup. And it's been a thoroughly entertaining first half. I do think that New Zealand now feel a lot more confident heading into the second half of this matchup. But there's no denying that France, they still have that ability. How if they get their momentum going in the right direction, they can be very hard to stop. And, you know, New Zealand still have to keep their A game throughout that second half. And it seemed like as this match wore on, as it was more competitive, they started kind of finding their rhythm that little bit more. Yeah, just showing some of those highlights. I think that 38th minute try of Renee Holmes was one of the best we've seen from New Zealand throughout this World Cup. We have got the Welsh teams were quite competitive last season. The national team, though, says win. And Ferns making this game harder, not the English. I would have put the score on us in the semi. That's all I'm going to say. And also, huge thanks for your commentary. Currently on holiday in Vietnam and can't get any streaming service to watch. You're a lifesaver, says Mike. I've heard of a lot of people going to Vietnam as of late. So hopefully you are enjoying it so far. It's quite warm there, I would think, at the moment. But yeah, hopefully you are thoroughly enjoying your trip. I want to say my uncle and my auntie are either going to Vietnam later this year or they're going to Thailand. But I'm not sure which one. But it's one of the two for about 10 days. That's why the All Blacks failed against Colby. Are not targeting that little dwarf. Although, to be fair, Colby wins the aerial battle up against pretty much anyone, doesn't he? No matter how tall they are, he still seems to get up ahead of them and manages to get those steals. You can get a pinpoint kicker and a tall winger. They can jump. He will score every time on the short guy. It's physics, says Bad Dog. An awesome finish to the first half at 19 points. It's hard to come back from, says Josh. And yeah, at the moment we do see currently they are sitting as around $31 underdogs. Now, I will mention in the URC game, they are actually still checking this collision, see whether or not it's going to be a yellow or a red card. Vietnam is a beautiful place to visit, says Corinne there. Yeah, so I might have to... Well, that's the thing. I've got a list of places that I should be hopefully going soon. Bloody hot and pissing with rain, fun times. Oh, yeah, so a nice humid combination in that regard. The only good thing about when it's pouring with rain and it's hot is it doesn't take long for the rain to dry. I once watched the Tri Nations games at a pub in Vietnam, and I tried on Falau. He wouldn't win. It's because they used the short wingers as well, although Falau's not playing international rugby at the moment. However, that's execution. Says the AI underdog, and Ferns to score first in the second half. So who would be the player, if they do, Josh, that you are backing to be able to score that first try of the second half? I feel like Braxton Sorensen McGee, we haven't actually seen a huge amount of her throughout this game. Portia Woodman-Wycliffe's actually been the busier winger for these two sides. Oh. My PC is running low on space. It's just popped up on the screen. That is not good. How do I fix that? No one knows. Well, I would assume I just have to clear some space. That should fix it, right? I must have too many tabs open. We'll go like that. We'll go like that. I'm just clearing the recording that I did earlier on of the All Blacks review. Oh, I've still got that open. Hang on, that'll be where all the storage is gone. 1 second, we'll go New Zealand versus Australia review. That was with about 3 capital letters in the wrong place. If I close that, try that again, and give that a go, that should fix it. And we shouldn't have any sort of issues. The last thing that we want is for it to randomly stop working. What's his name from the Crusaders? Fijian, he's short. That guy who scored the opening try against South Africa at Eden, good. Sever Reese, I assume you are talking. And we have got there Maggie up against a worthy opponent and Stacey Waka for the first try of the second half. I think this French side, Lady Luck run out. I hope that by the next Rugby World Cup, it will finally make its way to be shown and covered here in America. Women's sport has gained so much here. I have a question, Diana. Do you have Paramount Plus? Because it is actually being shown in the US on Paramount Plus, I believe. There's also another option, but I can't think of what one it is. But they have got a couple options if you do have a paid subscription. Sadly, I don't think it's free to air at this point in time. But yeah, Paramount Plus, if you randomly have that, it is actually showing the World Cup games, which is quite a handy one. Second half of this contest is getting very close to starting up. Currently, they are checking a try for Marcel Kutsia in the Bulls versus Ospreys game, and whether or not he has got that grounding, we will, of course, have to wait and see. A little bit of dubstep playing as well on this game at this current point in time. Yeah, Reese, he's a weapon. I mean, you look at all the greatest, generally tall. Joe Lomu Howlett. So, right, the Bulls did manage to score themselves a try. They are now sitting 12-12 after 21 minutes in that contest. There is also a game later on taking place between Cardiff and the Lions. We are going to be giving updates on that game as well. So anyone who is new, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. The other American option is Flow Sports, I believe. So here's Justin there. Yeah, so there's the choices, but they aren't free, unfortunately. It'd be interesting to see how many views the World Cup final would have gotten had it been a free-to-air option. And I think it is free. Some location ref in the AB's games is getting a lot of grief. What are your thoughts, Schnookums? Says distracted. I will be honest, right? There were a lot of penalties in that game. And anyone who's watched Andrea Piatti referee knows that he is very pedantic about a breakdown. So New Zealand found that out the hard way in the first half. They were giving away way too many penalties. But then it seemed like they adjusted to the way that he refereed. Australia would get penalised for something, go, oh yeah, referee's being harsh, we'll do it again 2 breakdowns later, and then they'd get penalised again and go, well, that's weird, why'd that happen? So I think that, like, you got to play to a referee. And Piatti, like I said, he is one of the most pedantic in the breakdowns for the URC. So, like, there were always going to be a lot of penalties there, and sadly, Australia just never quite found their rhythm and worked out how to not infringe in those breakdowns. So, like, yes, they probably were hard done by for 1 or 2, but a lot of them they brought upon themselves just from pure stupidity. Like, that's the unfortunate nature of it. Where's this next Women's World Cup being held? That's a good question. I'm going to have a Google while we are at it. Women's Rugby World Cup 2029. Held in Australia, as where it is going to be for the next one. We have there, mate. Tell me you're covering the Rugby World Cup final, not the South African game. That is not the case. We are doing that South Africa and Argentina matchup, and then also giving updates on what is happening between England and Canada. Shame this isn't played live. The males were, says Jack NZ. And I hear you, but not everyone streams. Women's Sports Deserve Network play as well, says Diana. And also we have got that France need that stuff from Flubber in the second half. And also we have got there H is Artie or Scooter, the captain for you. Got to get off offendance and let us know. It doesn't really matter what I think, though, because Scott Robertson's not going to do it. You know, like Artie Saviev throughout that game, I think, did a lot more talking throughout the match than we saw from Scott Barrett, although it still wasn't Artie's busiest game in regards of, like, he wasn't as talkative as he normally would be, Artie, but, he still had some very good moments throughout that game as well. But it just comes down to, if they weren't the captain, would they be in the squad? Or would they be in the side? And I think that Scott Barrett, you could arguably say, wouldn't make the starting lineup in certain stages of form if he wasn't the captain. However, there was your prediction score for South Africa Argentina. I think South Africa should be able to get themselves a decent enough win in that regard, but you can't underestimate the Pumas, because as soon as you try to, they end up beating everyone. We have there, should teams then adjust their game according to the rest way of refereeing? I think so. You've got a Northern Hemisphere ref, in a Southern Hemisphere competition, so there's always going to be that adjustment period anyway. And it's the sides that are able to adapt that normally end up winning the games. And Australia just, I don't know what it was about the way that they played, but they almost had the attitude of, the referee's got to change for us, not we have to change for the referee. And that's never going to work, because the referee, just like he does throughout the URC, Piatti called it exactly how he would in those matches. Artie's played it for a non-Kiwi super team, not exactly a captain for a Kiwi team, says James, although you look at what he was able to do leading from the front for that Moana Pacifica side. AB's famous for ref testing. The French girls look tired even walking back out, says Rugby Ready, and it is going to be a big test for them in the second half now, whether or not they will have the gas tank to be able to hang with the Kiwis. This is game over. Ferns 1, says Rugby Ready. Now, ready to kick this one off. It will be the French going from right to left here. We are just about back underway. This is where France really do need to score within the first, I would say, 10 minutes of the second half. Also looks like they're looking into the sun for the second half, so that won't help them too much. Burns to do it again, says Jimbo. 26 points to 7. It is kicked off by the French. And we are back underway for this matchup. Rua's taking it under the high ball as she is lifted into the air. The last thing, of course, that they would have wanted there was an early drop ball. Any halftime changes, says James. They haven't shown the lineups just yet, but of course, if anyone has, oh no, there's one. Mark has gone off. Moreland's gone on. That is for an HIA for the French. That Leroy will get exposed, in my opinion. You put a Tuolangi on him, 1 versus 1. He ain't stopping him, says Bad Dog. Okay, so you go and put one of the best attacking players in terms of size and strength, and you're saying Leroy Carter won't be able to handle him. That's probably a fair statement, because most people don't handle Tuolangi. But you also got to remember, Leroy Carter's had 2 games. How many's Tuolangi had? Like, he has still got to develop as a player. We have got there the Rugby Championship should keep Southern Hemisphere refs only. Australia versus New Zealand, then a South African ref. New Zealand versus South Africa, then an Australian ref, and vice versa for all the teams. I should mention, Schrader, I think is his name, or maybe might be Schneider. He's actually an Argentinian referee refereeing some Pacific Nations Cup games, so perhaps he could work his way towards the Rugby Championship in the near future. We have got there, the All Blacks are bad, says Alexa. And true, but that's all it will take. Put a monster on the wing. Yeah, but you're pretty much saying, hey, you'll find a random player, right, as your example, and then just find someone who is better than them and say, oh, they couldn't handle it. But, like, Leroy Carter, I would say, is far from his best as of yet. The bloke's had 2 games for the All Blacks. He's had 1 season in Super Rugby. Portia Woodman-Whitcliffe, now already there. Sitting 22 metres out the line. Georgia Ponsonby taking contact with Brazeau. And another penalty this time. This one going the way of France. Black Ferns versus Canada. The Kiwis do not adjust to the referee's rulings. Turnovers at the breakdown penalty. Here's Alan Smith. It's gone backwards there. I hear the TMO talking in the referee's ear at the moment. Brian Toto defies it. So far, short beast. Here's Bad Dog. Now, in the wide channel. Oh, I've just worked out it's not the TMO talking. It's the URC commentary that I can hear on the back of my mind. Or the back of my headphones. Which is the same part of my headphones that I listen to the rest of the noise from. Loose ball. Now, knocked on by France. Black Ferns will have themselves the scrum. And go the Kiwis, there's Ray. And there as well. And Ferns turnovers in 40 metres effortlessly. And that is something that will definitely hurt the French in this game if they just aren't able to keep those defensive tackles strong. You know, we see Olsen Baker as well. She is just causing all sorts of problems for the French. I don't think there's been a run that she's made so far that she hasn't broken at least one tackle. 37 minutes remaining. New Zealand currently with the 4 tries compared to the 1 that we have seen of France. I'm going to love women's rugby. See, the rugby ready. And there as well. And the crowd are still piling in. Of course, that next match, the final of the Women's World Cup, it has taken place at Twickenham. Going to be in front of a sold-out 80,000+ in attendance for the game. But now off the back, Olsen Baker again trying to break through. Tackle attempt of Arby's. Watching in Canada, listening to your commentary. It's way more professional. Says Danium, I should say, sorry. But yeah, that's greatly appreciated. Yeah, Bernier, that's a loose ball now. Black Ferns with the offload, only a few metres out. That looked high from Grisey. Could easily be the advantage. Going against the French here, but only metres out from the line for Olsen Baker. The Kiwis on hot attack again. Georgia Ponsonby. In fact, this time it is Vallejo knock on, though, from Demant. And the ball pops out on the side of the French. They'll go back for the scrum. Going to try New Zealand close it out. And also Baker, complete wrecking ball. We've got so much depth here in New Zealand. When it comes to the wings, Michael Manson, Caleb Tangitau, Leroy Carter. That's just a few, says John. And also, we really miss Ainley Duplessis in the vital games. We've missed a high tackle, says Rodney. Yeah, I was quite surprised that it didn't get called as a high shot from Grisey. Major France says bad dog. And also French woman forgot to eat their frogs last night. Says Kevin, I don't know whether or not that would give them the superpowers. Must be allergic to amphibians. It's an amphibian, isn't it, a frog? In regards to those commenting on Leroy Carter, just straight out spiteful and, to be honest, childish, says Chill. And the Black Ferns try scorers. So far, we have seen a try from Bayfield. We did see a try from Demant. All breaking the line there. Baudon, Sansus, almost managing to get the steal there. Also, we did see the try from, I think Sylvia Brunt got one, and then Renee Holmes. Those are the 4. Run up tadpoles, and Georgia on fire, says Jimbo. Ball is there again. Poldy Lane. Back across now, Bayfield. I love better perform at Super next year, says the AI. Muck Alley too, hit with a solid bit of contact. Been called as a tackle against Escudero. Now Demant gets it across. Braxton Sorensen McGee shows off her stepping. And she scores the try. She almost fumbled it as she tried to score it, but the big smile on her face now as New Zealand lead this contest. 31 points to the 7. Oh my word, what a star, says Rodney. For me, Leroy Carter was player of the day today, says John there. And also good call on McGee, Hamish. See, that's the second time today that I've actually picked a first try scorer. I see Caleb Clark to score first in the All Blacks game. Sorensen McGee was my pick to score first in the second half here. But we'll start getting them wrong for about the next 100 games in a row, and we'll be back to our normal percentage of about 2%. Now we have got there try 10 for the 18-year-old, says Rugby Ready. An easy kick. Not the easiest, but the way that Renee Holmes has been striking them today, you'd have to argue a pretty good shot of going over. She has already got 2 kicks over from this rough angle. That's right, you pick Caleb, says James. Now Renee Holmes trying to bring it around. Doesn't quite get it that way, so it will make the score 31 points to 7. A nice try by Leroy. That hole is always on, in my opinion, in rugby, even in league. Quick play, quick dive, says Bad Dog. And it's something that we actually saw the Australians use in the second half as well. It looks like a change is about to take place. Brazeau is making her way off of the park. I'm just going to quickly have a look at that URC one as well at the moment. The Bulls versus the Ospreys. It is getting close to halftime in that contest. It looks like the Ospreys had another attack and try. So they are doing very nicely at the moment throughout their game and doing a lot better than people did anticipate heading into that match. Currently leading 17 points to 12. A yellow card for the Bulls there too. And now New Zealand back in position. 30 metres out from their line. Renee Holmes just going to sink the slipper into it. Will Jordan was the star of the All Blacks today, not Carter. Says Alan Smith. I think New Zealand had multiple stars throughout their match. You'd have to argue that you've said Leroy Carter, you've said Will Jordan. What about Cam Roygar coming back into the side for the first time in ages and scoring himself the double from that 9 jersey? I want Porsche to go out with the Ferns win. Is that the game? Can France still make a comeback? I would say it's going to be very tough to do, definitely with the fact that they're slowing down, although almost breaking through Vernier. But that was a brilliant tackle made by Demant that stopped the attack now of Bourdon Sansus. And another knock on from France. Yes, Roygaard says bad dog there. All right, they're going back about 40 metres here for the original advantage. I think referee Carl Tanana in the commentary box has said that they probably have to play on. Cam Roygaard was AB's best and it wasn't even close. So yeah, Xavier advantage over. Apparently not. So they have retreated right back to where that penalty was awarded. France getting cute. Says Rugby Ready. And it's one of those ones you can't afford to make any sort of silly mistakes here if you are the French. To be as clinical as possible. Alan Bunting, he'll be happy enough with what he's seen from New Zealand. But there'll also be that frustration. Because you look at this game, and with the exception of the first 15 or so minutes, the Black Ferns have looked a lot better than they did in their last game. That can also be put down to how strong Canada were, though, in that semi-final. But you just wonder what the score could have been had they played like this in their semi-final fixture. That is a not straight throw from France. Herin is not happy. And good to see Cody Taylor back too, says John. You're doing very nicely in that number 2 jersey. 15 from 15 in the line-out department for New Zealand in that game up against Australia, which is much better than they had a couple weeks prior. And we have got there, here's me listening to your commentary, only to realise it's on TV live, says Mr. Kiwi for life. And Amateur Machine, says Charles. And we have still got 2 more matches that I am covering on the channel. The next one taking place is South Africa versus Argentina. That one kicking off in around 2 hours 20, and I am going to be doing the build-up about an hour's worth on that one. Perfect throw, poor decision, says Jimbo there. I live in France, says Mr. Kiwi for life. But yeah, after that one, we've also got Samoa versus Chile as the other game we are going to be covering. But Paul Lane kicking this one in behind. And get downfield off the boot of Demant. Awkward bouncing ball, trying to run away from the French fullback. And now Boulard passes back across. That was close to a 4 pass, just on her own 22. That's the last thing that you want there, Chambon. Now turnover in the breakdown. New Zealand at least trying for it, but the penalty is awarded to the French again. New Zealand can win a tight game from here. Says the underdog pick. Okay, this one towards the touchline for the French. And, just not quite able to keep it in the field of play for Renee Holmes. Trying to dive outwards rather than inwards there. Trying to crack an ice cold can of Red Bull, mate, to keep you going on the commentary. Says Foot Patrol. See, I've never actually had a Red Bull. But I don't know whether or not if I had one, I would just be bouncing off the walls beyond belief. It probably would be the case. I feel like I would be extremely hyper. Advantage rules are a bit of a joke. 40 metres isn't an advantage. The other week, Colby held up in goal. How much more of an advantage do you need? Says Mike, and don't lose the momentum, New Zealand. Says Josephine. And there as well. And V better. Says Bad Dog. See, I haven't actually had a V either. What else is there? There's like Monster. I haven't had a Monster. Now off to the left-hand side. Champon. Big rush defence from New Zealand. Getting up quickly was Bayfield. And the turnover is good here for the New Zealanders. Trying to step around. Big collision on Olsen Baker again. It's a penalty. As they kick 40 metres. And get the line out feed, says James. A red ball might speed up. The construction work, says Foot Patrol. That's a good kick in behind. It won't be a 50-22 as it was taken back by New Zealand was the comment from the ref, but it still puts the French in an awkward position. New Zealand taking it quickly, but it isn't a 50-22. And Rockstar and Mother. Mate, you never watch movies either. Either you're a monk or a missionary with the suit and the cut. Says the underdog pick. Yeah, honestly, you guys probably think outside of YouTube I do absolutely nothing. And you could be kind of right at times. Although, I have recently been appointed as a role on a committee. There you go. That's a fun little fact. I'm not going to tell you which one just yet. But it's something sport related. Now going off to the left-hand side, Baudon, Sansus, and a bit of work in the breakdown from New Zealand, trying to get it back while still inside of that French 22. Ferns fly half has quite the boot on her. I'm watching it on live and decided to turn off the volume and listen to your unbiased commentary instead. It's way better. There's Mr. Kiwi for life. Now Braxton Sorensen McGee. Renee Holmes tackled, 38 metres out. Time left in the game. Currently still another 27 and a half minutes. A voice for radio and a face for YouTube, says Charles de Kock. Cricket Club board for sure, says Bad Dog, and Wayne Smith would have cooked with this Black Ferns team. Now, 40 out. Oh, that's an ugly breakdown. There's about 3 players just flopped over that for France. Not sure whether or not they're actually trying to get out of there or just trying to chill in that one, or roll in a committee, a sausage roll, says James there. Now, a little bit of stepping coming from Stacey Waka as she moves into the 22 with the French again. Now back across. Now passed back to Georgia Ponsonby. 20 metres out from the line. Advantage still in play for New Zealand as well. Olsen Baker trying to get through another tackle attempt. Now pops up Amy Rule. She has made her way off of the bench for Coluna Vale. Finn from Braxton Sorensen McGee. They're still down by Full. Now back across Poultry Lane. Oh, big knock on coming there. They will go back for the original advantage that did take place about 12 phases ago for New Zealand. And I let him know how let's go. Says the AI underdog. And I think Carl Tanana, he did say it before that the other one was a long advantage, and this one was indeed as well for quite some time. But the Ospreys are leading by 12, ladies and gents. They weren't supposed to be anywhere near this game in terms of competitiveness. Now they're leading by 14 points in that game. And it looks like New Zealand have opted to go for the points here rather than taking on the 7. They've decided they can just close out this game without any sort of real extra fight back from France. Every time that they take a kick or win a penalty, it's going to take a minute or so off of the clock. So I'm just going to allow them to catch their breaths again. 24 seconds remaining on that shot clock too. Made that 99.99%. And that one's going to be kicked over from Renee Holmes. Bounces off the post. Actually curled a bit more than I thought it was going to. But 34 points to 7 now, the score. The Ospreys are now $1.90 underdogs compared to $10 that they were at the start of that game. They're doing very nicely. However, the Ospreys go on to win the URC and Welsh Rugby is back, says Jimbo. And Awesome says Innocent Anglerfish. Now the points differential between these two sides of 27. Now, I also want to quickly reiterate, this isn't just about a bronze of the Women's World Cup. This is also world rankings. I believe it is the same for the women as it is for the men. You get double points in the world rankings if you get yourself the victory. So, you know, New Zealand could actually boost themselves a nice little gap ahead of the French. Watson is proud. Says a rugby ready. Nicely taken by Portia Woodman-Wycliffe. Wrestled down by Grisey. Now taken back here. So isn't able to find touch on the full. Instead we'll send it straight down the middle of the field. Now Boulard going for the kick. This is bouncing nicely. Bit of an awkward bounce, but France still controlling it. Grubbering it forward. Renee Holmes claims that ball just 5 metres out from her own try line. Counter ruck. Coming from France in the breakdown. Doesn't quite work out. Poultry Lane smacked to the side. Now Rus. Just a few metres from the try line now for New Zealand. Rush defence from France as they look to get the steal. And again, just not quite able to do so. I think New Zealand trying to create this angle here, or at least give them half a chance. They've actually had to ground that one, and it's a try for France. That is interesting. So I think Rus tried to put it back. Then France saw the ball. Did they ground it from a standing position though? Because if not, then that is theoretically diving off the feet in the breakdown, is it not? And rubber the green too, says the AO underdog pick. English didn't dominate French like this. Mind yourselves, I've been puff playing for last place. So we're going to see the replay now. What actually happens here? Converting the double points world ranking for World Cup final, says Justin. So is that ball counted as out? Is my big question. Because normally you're not allowed to dive on a ball if it's at the back of the breakdown. Maybe that rule changes when you're inside. Here we go. They are going to be checking this one. That might be the rule that I just mentioned. English didn't dominate French like this. And having New Zealand, where'd that go? Having New Zealand play this way with such a commanding vibe, it's only right to see if Canada will do the same versus England. If not, then their win against New Zealand will be a fluke. So here's Diana. All right, we're going to see it now. So they're checking here. She is on the floor. So she picks up the ball. It's actually an illegal try. We have got there. Good call, says Rodney. And come on, ref, give it to them. And Canada won by doing the basics, really. Well, even this game, the Ferns are just doing too many basic errors, says James. Number 17 clearly off her feet for the French. And that is going to be no try. They will take that one away from the French. And off, of course, says Rugby Ready. So pretty much the way that one works, because I know that there will be a little bit of confusion around it. What has happened there is if you're going to play the ball at the back of an opposition ruck when the ball comes out, you have to play it from your feet. You aren't allowed to dive on it. You also aren't allowed to play it from the ground. She was already a part of the ruck. She then grabbed that ball from a grounded position to then put it over the line. So it counts as being stuck, like she's pretty much off her feet in the breakdown, if that makes sense. Outside of being a couple meters out from the line, that would have been a penalty every day of the week too. And damn thing it did go back. Must have been picked up off the ground, says they are. Yeah, the lady who did pick it up, the number 17 for France, was in the breakdown on the ground for Deschamps. We have got there, give the ball to Vahakolo, says Rodney. And yeah, they have taken Portia Woodman-Whitcliffe off of the field. There's a lot of emotion going on for that woman. After what has been a illustrious New Zealand career, she is still the most decorated New Zealander when it comes to tries scored, men and women. And here's Vahakolo is top class. Says Bad Dog. And there as well. Why was double movement? So it wasn't double movement. Or unless you're saying it was also double movement. I think it had to go back. But it must have been picked up off the ground. Says the AI. So yeah, pretty much where she was on the ground. And then from there, hands in the ruck is the way that it's gone. It's pretty much playing the ball from a grounded position. Hands in the ruck penalty every time. Says Jimbo. Oh, bit of an awkward one for France. Again, the bounce of the ball's just not quite going their way throughout the second half. Now looking for the pass on the inside, and it's another knock on. They are starting to just lose their composure. What is that jump from Vahakolo? She's just kind of done a jump where she put both her legs up and threw both of her arms back. If I tried to do that, I'd probably dislocate my elbows and also forget to put my feet back down and smack on the ground. Vahakolo is the reason why Tui got dropped. She showed her up in super, says Bad Dog. Not the same Drench team, though. Many ladies out having a trot. And I was over there go. The Black Ferns, says Ange. The Black Ferns got this, says Novmum. Currently, with just the 21 minutes remaining, they are still firmly in control of this matchup. Currently halftime in that URC game. The Ospreys are leading up against the Bulls, 26 points to 19. It should be a thrilling contest by the end of it. Let's go the Black Ferns. Harris both their legs up. Says Kevin. You see, I forget to put mine down. And I'd end up hurting myself. Which is not hard to do. I fell over at the golf course the other day. Or I slipped over, to be fair. Falling over sounds worse. Now a nice run from AB Rule. Looking to fall over the line. Get another try here for the Black Ferns. Now off to the right-hand side. Maya Joseph with the skip pass. One more to Braxton Sorensen McGee. And she will score it in the corner. It's another one for the youngster. Fern's still hungry, says Jimbo. She had released and got back up, try all day. Exactly right. If she had even just, if she wasn't a part of that breakdown, gone through and played it like you normally would if there's a counter ruck and the ball is out, she would have been able to score it early. Or easily, I should say. Let Braxton take the kick. And away bronze can be better than silver from a psychological viewpoint as you have won your game. But with the final, you want the gold, says Novmum. I wish that the AFL Grand Final wasn't on during the AB's Wallabies game. I saw that one was quite one-sided, was it? In the end, pretty even at half-time. And then from there, without giving too many spoilers, just in case you haven't seen it, but yeah, just one side running absolutely away with it. Oh no, knees in the scoring motion. Says Rodney there. But Renee Holmes, this is a tough kick from 44 metres out. She gives it a strike of the ball and it just goes short again. Her accuracy's been great this game, but it's just that little bit of extra distance that she has been lacking at times. I think that should be a try, but their new rule for World Rugby says, yeah, underdog pick. Yeah, see, if it had been over the try line, but then if it was over the try line, it would have been a 5-metre scrum for France due to New Zealand taking it back. But had it been held up in the in-goal area and then they had dove on it, normally when you're in the in-goal area, more things are allowed. Because I know that there was that one with, was it Sevu Reese's try early on in the Rugby Championship, or maybe in July, up against the French. There was one that was a bit controversial, but because it was in the in-goal area, it made sense. She gave up power for accuracy. Says Jimbo. No use to dwell on should-haves. Go for the bronze ladies, says Robert. Now France trying to break it down the wing. They've only got themselves the one try in this contest. Foot race. Looks like New Zealand are in a little bit of trouble, but the cover defence coming in from Renee Holmes. How did Australia do in the championship? I assume you're talking about the men's game just before for the Bledisloe. And well, it can't be a try if it's held up, says James. True. But if it's held up by the side forcing it back, and then you dive on them and push them down, maybe. But yeah, it's just a one that there was no way they were going to give it as a try, although they did, and then they had to take it away. And now, going back Rosval again, going with the ball on the outside, jump on with a nice big, gets through, Vahakolo, and drives right over her, scores the try. A bit of weak defence coming from the Black Ferns. She won't be doing any double leg, arms out jumping now. She hardly made the tackle there either, but nice run from Champon down the wing. We have got the Emily said, can you show us the live video, please? Sadly, due to licensing, any match footage will get me taken straight off YouTube and a copyright strike, which would be quite sad, because then I have to take a 3-month holiday. Why she released? She wasn't tackled. Good discipline by the French to get that over the ball and not tackle on the ground, says the AI. And nice finish there from Champon. And 39-7, I'm calling it. Well done, Black Ferns, game over. Well, France just scored, so it is now 39-12. The kick to come, if this disallowed we right, says Rugby Ready. There's already been a fair share of the disallowed ones throughout this match. We don't need another nice kick coming around, and it's gone over. 39 points to 14. France still with 17 minutes left. They can make this a competitive score here if they get it right. We see it there, though. Just the slow build from Tui, who just found a gap running through New Zealand's defence. Got it off to Baudon Sansus. Hello, Hasim. How are you doing today? I see your haircut is growing again. New Zealand looking good today. I feel so sorry for France. They had a great tournament, says Sean Watson. And yeah, it is greatly appreciated you being here. We've got plenty more games coming up. Luckily, no more forfeits on the cards, because or else, we haven't got much else we can shave off. And Fernshaw on the Rugby World Cup, yeah, this is how we roll, even for the bronze. Ospreys 26-19 over the Bulls at halftime. Yeah, not an expected scoreline whatsoever in that game. And the Ospreys, they are considered as underdogs, even though they lead by 7. So I assume that they expect a late comeback here from the Bulls. But yeah, not quite the game that we were anticipating between the two sides. Pick and go there from France. We're playing South Africa in England or South Africa. This one will be South Africa in Durban. Which Black Fern would you have a one-nighter with? I think I'd rather just watch them play rugby. To be honest, I feel like I can't answer that question in any way that it sounds respectful whatsoever. But now France have got themselves the possession. Baudon Sansus going off to the right-hand side, going back across to the right. Now popping it up. This is nice backline movement here for France. It was close to a four passer down the wing. Grisey cutting back inwards, gets through one. Off blows to Baudon Sansus, who drops it. But the ref says it goes backwards. Now it might have been a knock-on on the ground. No, it's still play on again. Does anyone know what time the grand final is New Zealand time? We'll be at 4:10 a.m. New Zealand time or 4 a.m. New Zealand time, but daylight saving, so really it's the equivalent of 3 a.m. So 2 hours time is when it's going to be taking place. Are you doing the bot game? We certainly are. For that South Africa versus Argentina match, we've got a big build-up plan for that as well. I've been tirelessly looking through stats and all sorts of little bits of information. Another run great from France here, 10 metres out from the line. Bayfield, a little bit slower, getting back up to her feet. New Zealand looking like they're starting to tire here throughout the last little while too. 15 minutes remaining. Surely there is not a comeback on the cards here, is there? But now pick and go through and scoring between the posts for Vernier. This is really changing the outcome of this contest, or at least it feels that way. It seems like France have found that next gear. Didn't the grand final already happen? Says Katzenel. Depends on what grand final you're talking about. However, they're going to be a long time for New Zealand, says Mr. Kiwi for life. What's going on here, Ferns? And Argies versus the box, H1 to 12. Very hard to say. It depends on how this backline goes with Damien Delendi in that number 12 jersey. Because, you know, if it's anything like that second half up against New Zealand, they should score plenty. But then if they are a little bit slower for this game, maybe the way that Argentina plays balances it out a little bit. But that kick has gone over, making the score now 39 points to 21. 3 converted tries from here, and France are in the lead. In fact, even one of them not being converted, or maybe even 2 of them not being converted, would still put them back into this contest and come back at doom. And great try, France, says the Hobbit. And they are just finding gaps. That did look like a knock on, I will be honest, but has been cleared as all right. So you got the Bok winning? I think so. If Argentina were to win for their second time in history on South African soil, I think there would be a lot of angry people. You see there, Bonon Sansus. She will make her way from the field. That's a bit of a shame because she was going all right in the last little while. What's your opinion on Artie Savia staying as the captain for the All Blacks? Depends on what they're doing with Scott Barrett, because if Barrett's back, they're going to go with Scott Barrett. Whether or not it's what people want. Another beautiful offload there from France, running down the wing. Pass on the inside, definitely on the cards as they go closer to the sideline, just in touch, but making another 50 metres there for France off the kick return. Hey, yo, brother, you're jinxing it, says Robert there for the AFL. Lions won 122-75 versus the Cats. Oh, that's actually not too bad, to be honest, for the Cats, because they were down by about probably 60 at the time that I saw it, so they kind of brought it back a little bit. Too late for a real comeback from France? You would think so. But at the same time, what they are doing just now is, I would think, slightly concerning for the Black Ferns. But now thrown in. New Zealand have got themselves the possession here again. Definitely still time. Says lost. Yeah, we've still got another 13 minutes still remaining. Strong pick 1 to 12. Be nice, I guess. Yeah, although I think that South Africa also want to chase that bonus point here. So they would need 3 or more tries than their opposition. Last game up against New Zealand, they managed to score themselves 6. Offload on the outside. Sorensen McGee does step and drag down nicely by France. Now Maya Joseph plays half. The French being French. Says HRI. New Zealand must score. Yeah, isn't it crazy to say with 12 minutes left in an 18-point lead, New Zealand need 1 more to be able to fully confirm this match. Now Vahakolo, close to the sideline, does very well to stay in the field of play, and that ball is still in. Oh, I think there's a forward pass maybe from New Zealand. 60 points, great match to both. Now, Hamish, I want to know, what do you think? Yes or no, says the bro. It doesn't really matter what I think, though. I've said it from the start. That was a forward pass from Renee Holmes. That I thought that Savia was the better man for the job. But any time that I've said that, when they've selected Scott Barrett, I've pretty much been told to shut up. So, you know, I'm fine with saying that Razor's going to go with his coach, and I don't have an opinion that matters in that department. But, yeah, I've made my thoughts clear on it multiple times. That's the thing with France. They play a similar style of rugby as Kiwis do, both men and women. Says John, Sorensen McGee is going to become a generational talent. Scintillating feat, says Jimbo. Now 11 minutes remaining now on the contest. France, they are going to have themselves the feed. The bonus point. This rugby championship is going out with a bang. The difference with New Zealand and South Africa is we don't burn building down and riot when the ABs lose. Says Bad Dog. I mean, to be fair, did you see the reaction from the Kiwis after that last loss to South Africa? It was not pretty. The players were getting destroyed on social media. Razor was getting death threats, all sorts. So, you know, I think, unfortunately, there are the bad eggs of every fan base rather than just the ones that you want to target specifically. France is fast and furious. Maybe they can get close, says Hillary. Now, what's wrong with Barrett? Says Katzenau at the moment, he's got a sore shoulder. In fact, there's 2 Barretts with sore shoulders. The only one who doesn't have a sore shoulder is Geordie. Now, ready to feed this ball in again here for the French. There's Marie or Alejandra Chabon, who again does decide to take this quick tap around the halfway line. Another offload. France. It's getting a little bit scrappy, but they did have the advantage anyway. Come on, the Black Ferns. Says Jay there. They actually burn buildings down. Says Bad Dog. Play Geordie, says Robert. And Geordie has had a couple vice captaincy roles in there as well. Oh, and that's close to the steal, and they do get themselves the turnover there, the French. That is some brilliant work from Bigu. And it's against Amy Rule for not releasing. Still 9.5 minutes on the clock here. And Geordie has been the busier too, says the Hobbit. Yes, as I consider you as a great rugby brain of the modern era commentary. Over here streaming, I concur with you, bro, says the bro there. But yeah, I think that New Zealand still have a couple big decisions to make moving forward for November in terms of who they actually want in that starting lineup. Seems sus the brothers with the same injuries. Not really. Like, injuries are pretty common in rugby. We saw about 5 for New Zealand throughout that game. So, you know, there was always going to be a chance that an injury can be the same. Caleb Clark's got the same injury as Noah Hotham. Is that a little bit sus? Or is it just the fact that, you know, they are playing a contact sport and your shoulders take a lot of the brunt? Oh, nice little cellar dummy from Vernie. Hey, she's really coming to her own throughout the last maybe 20 or so minutes of this game. They're just trying to use this backline France and keep this ball moving, seeing whether or not their fitness can outwork New Zealand. Missed tackle from Sorensen McGee. Pass on the outside towards the corner, and France have been held up. That is a mistake and a half, or is it? No, referee awards it as a try. They must have just eventually got it down, and France are still in this contest. What I was told anyway by South Africans, he said they go crazy when they lose. I was like, hey, nothing really changes here. Sure, we like them to win. But back to work Monday. But once again, it can just be a small group of the ones who take it too far. Like, you can't say the whole of South Africa burn buildings down when their team lose, because it's just not the case. There's 60 million population. There's a lot to go for South Africa. And there's actually some absolutely incredible people who are South African rugby fans. We've seen it time and time again on the channel. You know, you could also... Never mind. I was going to say you could say the same thing about certain New Zealand even players. You know, you could say what they have done in the past means that the whole team do it. It's just not the case. But now that one's missing away to the side. Got to appreciate the French ladies' never give up attitude. Yeah, they have decided that the second half is theirs. Bonkers try, says Rugby Ready. But yeah, just going down the wing, Bill Yard. They did well to hold her up initially there for Vaha Kolo. I get you, says Bad Dog. And notice the New Zealand backline always bunched in, giving French the overlap. Do you rate Peter Umaga Jensen? I do. I think that him going to Japan is either going to make him an even better player, or we're going to see maybe him just kind of disappear into the overseas pool of players that don't get the chance for the ABs. How many tries did New Zealand score in the second half? If we're talking about this game, I believe they've only scored the 1 or 2 at this point in time. Can someone donate a Bok tie to Hamish? Says Hillary there. Stefano, she has made her way onto the field for Brunt. Still 7.5 minutes remaining. And this is within 2 converted tries. France again going to start running it. Demant missing the tackle. 2 extra in a row missed by New Zealand too. Pick and go here. Les Bleus have got a little bit of a rhythm going now. And it's as if they were saving all their energy for the final moments. Man don't have nails anymore, says Robert. Now finding another offload. They are doing beautifully keeping this ball alive. Just not allowing any chance. Oh, that's an ugly collision. Getting knocked backwards there for Georgia Ponsonby's replacement. That's going to be now the penalty. Or no, sorry, not the penalty, but a turnover for New Zealand. So Vicky Rose Green, the one who did get bumped off. Why kick it away, says Rodney. It seems like an interesting choice at the moment, but perhaps just trying to play territory. Although if you were going to do that, you kick it further into the opposition half, surely. Gerald will let them back in, says Bad Dog. Hold on to the lead. Black Ferns, says Josephine. Oh, big shot. And now looking for the steal. Olsen Baker gives away the penalty though. 6 minutes remaining. France might quick tap this. Yes, they do. Quick tap taken, and France looking to run it again. Now Champon, fresh at the moment out there on the field due to her only just recently making her way onto the field for Bourdon Sansus. But this has turned into a quite electric finish to the bronze final, which didn't look like we were going to have about maybe 15 minutes ago, but France now pass on the outside, still making meters for fun up against New Zealand, who do need a big turnover here just to give themselves some possession and some time. Almost breaking through was Menon Begay. Now right hand side again, France have got about a 3-woman overlap, but it's picked up now and dropped by Vaha Kolo. and France will have themselves the scrum fee 5.5 remaining on the clock. Ferns bench not on par with the XV, which is crazy, isn't it? Because you look through at the players that they've actually got off that bench, and they've got some absolutely phenomenal players. So yeah, 2 tries scored for New Zealand in the second half. Sorensen McGee the first, and then Sorensen McGee actually the second as well, I believe. Last was 13. Plus against South Africa, I don't know about 13 plus. I think they'll just take by 1, to be honest, the way that this rugby championship is sitting. I think they'll be more than happy with that. Ferns looking awful in the last quarter. Sounds a little bit similar to a certain men's team out of New Zealand. Mate, your French pronunciation is also electric. Says, now I don't know whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. It certainly hasn't been the best, I would say, throughout this World Cup. They have been the side that I've struggled with the most, but we've slowly been learning along the way. Vahakolo should have towed that one ahead, says Rodney. You're always a bit of a risk trying to pick it up and then go for it that way. It looks like Renee Holmes is going to receive player of the match here. He scored 13 points. She's had some brilliant moments and also that phenomenal try on attack too. Being able to have that big moment. It did really, I think it was try of the, I was going to say try of the tournament for the Black Ferns, but that might be a bit optimistic. Try of the match anyway for Renee Holmes. New Zealand gassed. Can't watch the actual match. They're slowing down quite drastically. We thought that maybe France would tie as this match wore on because of all the points that they conceded early. But it doesn't seem like it's been the case. They've actually sped up at this point in time. And they are the team looking for the quick taps and looking to keep this momentum flowing. I say Canada beats them. Says Drizzy there for that final. And not gas but dumb decisions. Says Rob there. Okay. Referee just having a bit of a chat there to the front row. Still the 5 minutes left on the clock. 2 quick fire tries here could get them right back into the contest. France, in fact, it could even get them into the lead if they were able to get their choices right here. That is, can only be regarded as insane that they are so close to creating a chance. 5 minutes is forever with dead lungs and legs, says Justin. Yeah, the thing is, like, that momentum, it is firmly in favour of the French. So they need a big moment here to be able to kind of put them back in the right direction now. One moment, we'll go like this. Oh, loose ball. France now. Grisey picking it up. Another missed tackle, this time from, it's Fahakolo again. I feel bad for continuing to call out her errors, but she's missed about 4 tackles so far and dropped the ball. So definitely not quite the impact off the bench that she would have been looking for. In fact, it's almost been more of an impact for France since she's made her way on. Backline movement again, getting it into the wider areas of the field for the French. Run from Kelly Arbe. Again, pick and go from France. 40 metres out. New Zealand falling off tackles. And almost that is a good steal in the breakdown. A crucial one for the Black Ferns. Not sure who it was. I want to say it was maybe Bayfield, but I could be wrong. Academy France are done, says Kevin. I wouldn't guarantee that, although this will get it a little bit closer if this ball does go into touch. Georgia Miller. We haven't even mentioned her in the whole of the second half. Still in the hands of France, but they'll go back for the initial scrum. It is in favour of New Zealand. As long as the French don't score again, and when it's the South Africa-Argentina match starting. So it is going to be kicking off at, I believe it is 5:10 p.m. South African time. Now, for us here in New Zealand, we've actually got daylight saving coming up. So it is going to change the time for us. But that match is kicking off, and I believe it will be 3 hours' time. 2 hours' time. 2 hours' time, in fact, when that game is kicking off. Ferns are better at attacking, not so much on defence. Don't get me wrong, they play hard. But the girls on the outside aren't tacklers, says Rob on guitar. Where's the New Zealand pride? Keep playing, says Rugby Ready. Yeah, the French have really been the better team in the second half. They have shown a lot of grit, a lot of determination late. That's right. I think you've mentioned Georgia about 3 or 5 times so far. She's been absent, says James, whereas in the first half, she was absolutely everywhere. That was a massive scrum from France, all but managing to get themselves the scrum penalty. Great victory by the Ferns. But Les Bleulets can leave heads high, says Jimbo. And time, please, at the moment, 77.5 minutes gone in this contest. I'm with you. I'm still waiting for my 5 p.m. lager, says Robert. And we are going to have a build-up of around an hour for that matchup taking place between Argentina and South Africa. So, of course, be sure to tune in for that one. No, says Rodney. Now, kicking away the ball again there for the South Africans, for the Black Ferns, now running it forward and giving a ball straight into the hands of New Zealand. Stacey Waka under pressure from France, who can't get this steal now. Just the 100 seconds remaining in this contest. They should be able to close it out. Penalty goes the way of New Zealand, and that should just about be the contest. We have their New Zealand curse the world, their deplorable invention of daylight savings. Says Cats now. Yeah, it does get very confusing because I was almost getting the hang of South African time zones. And now I have to rework out when things are actually taking place. And the sad thing is, with daylight savings, it still means that there is an overlap for the World Cup final, which is a massive shame. New Zealand invented daylight savings, and France are actually doing good. Very impressed, says Jennifer. Yeah, they've come back nicely in this game. We've got to remember, they were down by a big margin at half-time. They have scored 3 tries throughout the second half. We got the bronze, says Nov Mum. French teacher New Zealand. Now they should have played second half against Canada, says Samba there. Now lining up this kick for Renee Holmes. Only the 50 seconds remaining on the clock for New Zealand, but 30 seconds remaining of the shot clock, so she will have to kick this before the end of the game. Canada will lift the trophy, says HRI. And of course, that South Africa-Argentina game, it does overlap, but we are going to be keeping you informed about what is happening in that final between England and the Canadians as well. But Holmes strikes it, comes round, does have the distance this time, making the score now 42 points to 26. So there is no chance of the comeback, and not just because of the fact that there are 20 seconds remaining in this match, but more so because of the 16 points difference between the two sides. France decided to go quickly, taken there by Teresa Stefano. Now we have got there, thanks Hamish. Once again, top draw commentary simply put magnificent, says Kevin. And we have still got plenty more coming today. We've still got that match between South Africa and Argentina. And alongside that, we've got the other contest taking place between Chile and Samoa. That will confirm a spot through to the Rugby World Cup. Just waiting for that full-time siren here for the Black Ferns. Putting it back into the pocket. Kicked into Dutch and New Zealand. They will take the bronze. It is not what they wanted at the start of this World Cup, but it is still a award of some sort, a bronze medal for this World Cup campaign that has been at times a bit confusing for this Black Ferns side, but to be able to pull off the victory here up against the French, 42 points to 26, is a big win there for the Black Ferns. Haven't seen you taking a sip of water yet. My voice is probably going to disappear later on, if I'm being honest. I probably haven't been too strategic. I've got a bottle just here, but I just haven't had any of it as of yet. But of course, we have got another live stream just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that one's going to be starting in 50 minutes' time. And that is the contest taking place between South Africa and Argentina. There are tears out there on the faces of the French side. Honestly, brilliant second half from them. And much better, I think, than many would have been anticipating. But what we will quickly do is I will very quickly check to see what time that next live stream has actually taken place. Yeah, 57 minutes is when our next live stream is going to be starting. That will be between South Africa and Argentina. So be sure to pop on over for that. During that game, we are also giving updates of the World Cup final. So yeah, we will hopefully see a lot of you guys there for that one. But thank you all very much for watching. Anyone who is curious about the Bulls versus Ospreys game at the moment, the Bulls, they are leading with 27 and a half minutes remaining, 29 points to 26. So we'll be keeping an eye on that and letting you know the result on that next one as well. But thank you all very much for watching. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all for the next one.